Hello viewers, welcome to today's session. A very good evening to all of you. It's 7 p.m. out here. I'm basically from Bangalore. Uh, had a fantastic first half of the day. Looking forward to a fantastic rest of the evening. And for the next 30 minutes, I will be spending time with you to talk to you about one crucial topic, which is time management. Now, and why do I say it's crucial? Is because um we Indians have a different definition of time management, and we call it as the IST. If all of you know, we call it as the Indian Standard Time. So it's very interesting to know why is it that Indians manage time differently. We don't really respect the time the way we want to, or the way the rest of the countries look at time. So um, now we will try to understand a little more about how do we start managing time a lot more better. What are the tools, techniques that we are going to use in order to manage time effectively? So we're going to do a glimpse of all of these in the next 30 minutes. So if there's any questions, keep throwing those questions to me so that I can quickly go back and respond. To start with today's session, let me give you a quick introduction about myself. If you have already attended some of my sessions in the past, so you know a little bit about me, but for the new viewers, I'm Nitin Prabhakar. Basically, I'm an HR professional. I used to be an HR professional, work in the corporates, worked in companies such as Infosys, Satyam, 24/7 Converges for roughly around 15 years, and I've headed human resources in the past. I've managed different domains of HR, and during my HR journey, I've identified one of the most important skills that a lot of people don't really concentrate on, don't really work on, is the soft skills element. And I always wanted to start something of my own, and thereafter, I said that soft skills being the most important element, that is the area where I would want to focus on. Reach out to a large set of audience to tell them why is it important, how can we work on our soft skills, and that is how I've got into this industry for the last 2 years. So I'm a soft skills trainer right now. So like I mentioned, we are going to go through a glimpse of time management. How do for your exams, how do you prepare? For your life journey, how are you going to prepare? If there's an interview, how would you prepare? With regards to time. That is what we're going to do. We would do a snippet in the next 30 minutes. And if you want to know more, you need to be a part of the Plus program, because in the Plus program in Unacademy, we would be discussing in depth as to how you can start managing time more effectively. And when you log into Plus program, whenever you would want to subscribe into the Plus program, you can use my referral code, which is down below, which is Nitin PKAR hyphen 4915. By doing so, you would be eligible for a 10% discount, right? So that is what today's endeavor is. Well, let's get started. I would start with a slide which talks about how some of us look at time management. Now, this is going to be more on a funny note. I don't mean that this will happen on a real-time basis. This is what it says. I'm very good with time management. I always give 110% to my job, 40% on Monday, 30% on Tuesday, 20% on Wednesday, 15% on Thursday, and 5% on Friday. So overall, if you sum it up, it's 110%. But if you look at it, this individual is giving each day a particular percentage. So that's one aspect of it. The next clip talks about there is a person who is going into a time management seminar late, right? Want to work on the time management, but getting into the time management seminar in itself not in a timely manner, and thereby this is what we are going to cover today. Now, if I have to ask you this question to all of you, how good are you at managing time? You can give this answer to yourself. You don't have to, if you want, if you're okay, you can always type and leave your scores on the message here, so that all of us get to see how good you are and how much more you would want to work on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being the least and 10 being the highest. how much do you score yourself on time management? So when I'm saying time management, say for example, you get a particular work to do you do it on time or not? How often do you do it? If you do it all the time, then give yourself a 10. If you don't do it at all the time, then give yourself a 1. If you're okay, man, sometimes I do it, sometimes I don't, then give yourself a 5, 6 based on your experience. There is also, I need to do preparation for my exams. Do I do it in the last minute, or am I very scheduled? Do I have a planner in place? So do I meet up all those requirements? If so, then give yourself a good score. If not, then you don't give yourself a good score. So spend, I'm going to give you roughly around 40-50 seconds to think through and give yourself a score. Please go ahead. Well, I'm checking if there's anybody. All right. Uh, Mehek, a very good evening. Ankur, hello, Ankur. I was not getting getting messages, so I just started getting it right now. Okay, so let's proceed. I'm assuming that each one of you have given a score for yourself. The reason behind me asking you to do this is predominantly from a self-awareness standpoint. Are you aware as to where do you stand at this point of time? The reason I wanted you to do this is because any kind of a change that you are envisaging. I'm at this particular place. I want to move here. To get into that process of change, it is important for us to be aware as to where are we today, and that is why I wanted you to spend some time and give yourself a score. Now that you're aware that this is where you are and you know that you need to progress, we are going to give you some tips as to these are the things that you need to be doing in order to move into effective time management. All right, so let's progress. I would request you to understand the value of time. Before the value of time, I would also want you to understand the value of money. Let me ask you this question. This is a very popular one, but I'm posting this to you. Imagine you get 86,400 rupees into your bank account every day. Oh, very good imagination, right? Wish this would have been true to all of us. Let's try to imagine this beautiful situation. 86,400 rupees gets into your bank account on a daily basis. The amount that you receive needs to be spent on the same day. You really cannot carry forward it to the next day. In case if there's any amount that is left out, then it would get exhausted. So you got to utilize the amount on the same day. If that is the situation, what is that you would do with this 86,400 rupees? You just cannot carry it forward. If you carry it forward, that amount will get erased or lapsed. So you got to spend it on the same day. If that being the situation, what would you do? Think through. Taking shares of IRCTC. You would buy shares of IRCTC, and probably if you invest 86,400 rupees on a daily basis, over a period of time, IRCTC would be yours because you would be the only shareholder. Uncle. So I'm sure each one of us would have thought of spending 86,400 to the last penny. We don't want to leave even a single penny in our account, right? I'm assuming that's the fact of matter. We would want to utilize, we would want to buy a property, we would want to buy shares, we would want to spend it on somebody, we would want to give it to somebody who is in need. Could be any of those, but we don't want to leave that amount back in our kitty because we know that it's going to get lapsed. Now we need to understand that money is very, very important to us, and we treat money with a lot of respect. We treat money with a lot of care, concern. We don't spend it unwisely most often than not, right? So in this situation, it very clearly shows that we're going to spend every penny. Now, why are we talking about this? Because this 86,400 rupees is nothing but the number of seconds that we have in a day. In a day, each one of us get 86,400 seconds, and those seconds are given to you every day. However, it gets lapsed by the end of the day, and the next day, if you would want the previous balance, you would not get it. You would get a fresh 86,400 seconds. We say that time is more important than money, right? Time is more important than money. When you have money, you can't buy time, but when you have time, you can buy money. And when we say time is more important, I think it's very important for us to utilize time and every second like the way we used money. We got to use it to the fullest on a daily basis, so that by the end of the day, we know that 86,400 seconds has been utilized very effectively. When I'm saying effectively, if you need sleep, then even sleep is a part of those 86,400. Even that's important. If you do something, when you overdo something, then I think it's a waste of time. But otherwise, if you have a plan in place and if you stick to your plan, then I think it's important for you to utilize 86,400 seconds effectively. So that's the whole idea behind this particular slide, to say that time is more important than money, so use it effectively. All right, some facts. The average years of life that we have is, let's say, 70 years. If we convert that into days, it's 25,550 days that we have in our life, of which, if we take off the weekends, is 21,910 days, of which I'm assuming the average age is 30. I'm guessing the viewer's age could be a little lesser, but 30 is what I'm taking for the ease of calculation. The number of days left with us is 14,600, of which take the retirement age, which is 58 years. Now it's actually increased. Days left to work is 10,200. So all you're going to work, most of you are getting into the corporate world, right? Most of you could be around 21, 23 years old. So you have 10,220 days to work, because your age could be around 21. So maybe add some more years, roughly 15,000 days is all that you have in your entire life to work. A lot of times that I've seen people really crib, don't dislike the things that they do. We don't really have that luxury of time to crib, because every day is precious. So use those days, use the working days very effectively. There are two things that I would want to say. Do what you love predominantly. The first point is do whatever that you love. That should be your job. If not, love what you do, so that you're happy. So you got to choose both of it, because life is small. Life is really, really short. And in the short span, it's important for you to be happy. In order to be happy, you got to follow one of these. Do what you love, or love what you do. Right? All right. Moving on. One of the techniques that has really helped me transform myself is the 5-minute technique. Now, what is 5-minute technique? I was somebody who used to be very good with procrastinating things. Now, what is the meaning of procrastination? It means postponing things. I was somebody who used to postpone things and postpone important things. I had to do few things, but I used to just postpone it indefinitely. At the end of it, what used to happen is there are 5-6 different things that I had to finish at a time, and everything used to come up to my neck, chock-a-block, and I had to deliver everything at the same time. So while I was working in the companies, at times that used to happen. Suddenly, a lot of things I had to finish because I was postponing everything, and suddenly my boss starts asking everything at a time, and I realize, oh gosh, I've not moved an inch on any of these. And then I start working on it. Undue pressure, when there's pressure, it leads to stress. That is the time that I heard of this technique called as a 5-minute technique. This 5-minute technique is basically telling your mind to do an activity that is not very interesting, or if you're postponing an activity, tell your mind that you will just do it for 5 minutes. For the ease of understanding, let's take an example of going for a jog. If you're someone who has decided to go on a jog, but it's time to go for a jog, but then you decide, I don't want to go today, I would want to rest, आज मूड में नहीं हूँ. All you got to tell yourself is, fair, I'm going to wear my shoes, I'll just go out and jog for 5 minutes and then come back. That's about it. I'll walk for 5 minutes and come back. So you wear your shoes, go out, start jogging or walking. Within 5 minutes, your body is warmed up. Your body is acclimatized to the conditions. You would want to do more of it because it's warmed up. Eventually, that 5 minutes will end up 20 minutes or 30 minutes, up to your convenience. So basically what I'm trying to tell you is, the moment you start an activity for 5 minutes, we get really warmed up and then finally end up doing more, and at times probably completing an activity. Excel, for example, Microsoft Excel is one thing that I'm decent at, I'm quite good at it, but I'm not very interested in doing it. So what I used to do is, if there's any reports I had to work on, I always used to postpone it. And when I got to know about this, I used to tell myself, okay, I'll start working on the report, I'll just do it for 5 minutes and then I'll do something else. The moment I start working on that Excel for 5 minutes, I get so involved into it that I end up finishing it. If it's a 20 minutes, 30 minutes activity, I will still go ahead because I've got so involved in it, because I know the maths, I know the numbers, and if I have to stop it there and then go out and do something else and come back, I have to start from the start, because it's a number game. Excel is all about number games, right? So I used to tell myself, I've already started, so I'm going to finish off, spend the 20-30 minutes, finish it off, and get done and dusted. So 5-minute technique has really helped me in my day-to-day situations. It has really helped me come out of postponing or procrastination. Now I don't postpone many things. So the way, if I had to rate myself on a 1 to 10, I would give myself as, with regards to postponing things, I used to give myself a 9, because I used to postpone a lot of things, but today I would give myself a 3, which means to say I've really progressed with regards to postponing. I don't postpone work anymore. I would do it with this 5-minute technique. That is one of the techniques that I want to talk about. There are other techniques that I'm going to cover in a short while, which is really helping me out with regards to managing time effectively. What are those? Perito Principle. I'm not really sure if you've heard of Perito Principle. Have you? Has anyone heard of Perito Principle? Well, I'm assuming not. Or if you have also, let me give you a brief about what Pareto Principle talks about. Pareto Principle, it initially started with this explanation as to 20% of the effort gives you 80% of the results, and which basically means to say that there are 10 things that you are supposed to do, but doing those 2 things will give you 80% of the result. Is one of the principles that came out. And eventually, when the research was conducted, it was true that this particular numbers is more or less the same across the world in whatever that you do. 20% of your product or services gives you 80% of the revenues. 20% of the people give you 80% of productivity. 20% of your products gives you 80% of sales. 20% of your effort gives you 80% of results. 20% of your activities gives you 80% of achievements. You see that? So, which is basically trying to say that this is just not applicable to one aspect of it, but it is applicable to almost everything in life. Now, what is this 20%? Why not it's 30%? Now, 20% is a rough estimation. In some situations it was 30%, in some situations it's 15%. So overall it was 20% giving 80% of the result is what was shown. I've read this book, which is the Pareto Principle, and it's a very, very interesting book. So whenever you find time, you want to read this, but it's a lengthy book, small fonts, a lot of information. So when you have time, you might want to read this. So why are we talking about this? Because on a day-to-day basis, you would have a list of things to do. Always stick to those 20% of the things which gives you highest results. Normally what we do is do the small things which does not give us results. That means to say we are not progressing. In order for us to progress, do the 20% of the things. Say for example, you would want to get into science. What is that you need to concentrate on? You need to concentrate on your maths and science, right? If you are my nephews are going from the 10th to the PUC. What they do is they don't really concentrate much on their English, Hindi, their local language. They study that, but not as much as the ones that are very very important, which is their science and math. They spend a lot of time there because that will give them 80% of their results, because they are choosing PCMB or PCMC. So they are very very focused. They know what to concentrate on. Similarly, any of the work that you would want to do, you need to be concentrating on the 20% of the things which can give you 80% of the results, right? So that is how you can prioritize. All right, moving on. At the end of the day, do you plan your activities for the next day? At the end of the day, do you plan your activities for the next day? If not, I would request each one of you to start planning. The reason is, planning is a very very important aspect. As you read it here, failing to plan is planning to fail. Einstein says that if you leave me with a problem for an hour, 55 minutes I'm going to plan and 5 minutes I'm going to execute. So he says execution comes later, and my execution excellence is going to be only dependent on the kind of planning that I've done. So planning is the key for one individual to become successful. Are you somebody who is writing down the things that you are supposed to be doing tomorrow? I'm saying do that in the night, because when you are very clear before you go to the bed what are all the things that you want to do tomorrow, when you are sleeping, in your subconscious mind it is told that it gets manifested. So it becomes a part of your subconscious mind that you need to be doing those activities. So there is a lot more for the lack of word, I would say there's a lot more requirement or confidence within you when you wake up that these are all or it's imprinted in your mind. That's the word that I was looking for. It's basically going to get imprinted in your mind that these are the things that I would want to do, and thereby you will end up doing those activities. So two things that I would request you to do. Number one, before you sign off for the day, have a very nice notebook for a planner. Write down the list of things that you're supposed to be doing tomorrow. I would want to read social science. I would want to read maths. I would want to probably go get groceries for my home. I would want to pay up the electricity bill. I would want to do this. I would want to do that. Blah, 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 blah. You've written all of it, so you know what is possible, how much is possible, and how much is not. Once you're done with that planning, just go through it once again, just so that you're sure that all of it can be done. Then the next morning when you wake up, as and when you start doing it, start ticking those things. The moment you start ticking, there's something called as a dopamine that gets released. There are 4 different chemicals. One of the chemicals is the dopamine. Dopamine gets released when you achieve a particular thing, when there's a task that is given to you, when you do it, and when you tick mark, you feel so satisfied doing that. If you have done that in the past, and you know what I'm talking about, because there's a chemical which is called as dopamine that gets released. When that gets released, you feel really high and very happy about accomplishment, and when you feel happy about it, you will want to do more such activities. So there are 5 activities. You have ticked 1, you tick 2, you tick 3. You're feeling so happy about it, you're going to do the other 2, and then at the end of the day you're going to get done with all the activities. That's number 1 that I would request you to do. So the next day you completed all those 5 activities. Just before you hit the bed, go back and see what was your plan that you had. Have you accomplished all of it? Yeah, have you accomplished all of it? If not, please go ahead and carry that forward to the next day plan. I'm assuming you must have already completed it. If not, add that as a part of your next day's activity, and again start the planner for the day 2. Day 2, I'm going to do this which is carried forward from the previous day, and the rest of the things which is I want to give my clothes for ironing, I want to study English, I want to study say Hindi, whatever that you want to do, write it down. Yeah, so writing it down is the key. So this is what my recommendation is. Planning to fail is failing to plan is planning to fail. So write it down. When you do this, you will be able to manage your tasks, your time a lot more effectively, right? So if you start doing this, it is also told that what is vision? Vision is something that you can see. So when you write it down, you are seeing. I keep saying that 85 is the next day, and check the previous day's activity whether you've done all of it, and plan for the next day again. So that is one of the techniques with regards to managing your task, managing your time a lot more effectively, right? Moving on, I think this is the last tip for today's time management session, which is Stephen Covey's technique. Now that you have done a list of things from the previous slide, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, I've told you take the 20% of the activities which gives you 80% of the results from your previous Pareto principle, right? Out of the 10 things, you're going to do the top 2 things which will give you 80% of the results, is how I've done that. And look at this. What Stephen Covey says is it's a book that you must read, which is with regards to time management. He basically talks about 4 different quadrants. Now, number 1 quadrant is something which is important and urgent. So when you have list down the 10 things, write down all the things that comes under this quadrant which you think is urgent and important. Now write down the things that is not urgent and important. It is important, but it is not urgent, right? Say for example, exercise is important to me, but not urgent. It's not that I need to do it now. It's okay if I do it 30 minutes later, if I do it sometime towards the day, but it's not urgent. It's not that I need to do it now. Important, urgent. Let's assume that you need to deliver a project report today. Your professor is waiting for you, and if you're working professional and you have deliver a report that you need to send to your boss, so that is important, that's urgent, right? That's the difference between the first and the second quadrant. Now the third quadrant, it is urgent but not important. Let's assume that your professor has called you for a meeting on the fest, and you're not going to be a part of the fest. Now for you it's not important, but it is urgent because your professor is calling you now. So that is now the third one. The fourth one is not urgent and not important. Let's say watching TV at that particular point where you have exams, watching TV, not urgent, it is not important too, right? So that way, out of the 10 things that you have mentioned as a to-do, I'm just saying 10 as a number. It can be 5, it can be 7, it's up to you. 10 being a very even number, let's keep it as 10. Out of the 10 things, write down which activity falls under which quadrant. Now that you have filled up all these quadrants, the first thing that you got to do is do the activities in important and urgent column, right? Because that is a stress activity because it's urgent. Then move to the activities which are important and not urgent. Because it is important and it is not urgent, if you don't do it, then it will move to the quadrant 1, and again it becomes stressful. So ideally do the second one second. The third one is do the urgent thing and not important thing, and if possible delegate it. And the last one, I would recommend you not to do it. So if you had to just say it in 1 or 2 words, in quadrant 1, do it because it's important and it's urgent. Whenever you have activities in quadrant 2, deadline it. So you got a deadline saying that I'm going to complete this by today day end, I'm going to complete that by weekend, whatever, deadline that particular activity so that it does not move into quadrant 1. You got to deadline it because it is important and it is not urgent. All the activities in quadrant 3, delegated because you think it's urgent but it's not important for you. When it's not important for you, it can probably be important to somebody else. If you have people under you, it's easier for you to delegate those tasks.
If you don't have anybody under you, it's best that you find people who are interested in the task and delegate that activity rather than you doing it. Dhananjay, hello. I want to give CAT, and there are more techniques that I would want to talk about with in our plus program. Now there are few things that you might want to quickly understand. I would really love to talk a lot more on these three, but remember, being busy and being productive are two different things. You can be busy and be productive, but don't just be busy. So every time that you're busy, be productive. There's a difference between being perfectionist and excellent and perfectionist. So if are you a perfectionist is one of my questions. Give this answer to yourself. If you are somebody who is a perfectionist, I would request you to start not being perfectionist, because there's nothing which is 100% accurate in this world. Even a Six Sigma is not 100% accurate. So don't give yourself too much of stress on being perfect. Be focused on excellence, right? Look at things which are excellent. Is it meeting the requirement? Is it meeting the client's requirement? Be happy with that. Don't look at perfectionism. Like I said, I would love to talk about all of these, but in the interest of time, I would talk a lot more about all of these in the Plus program, and I would encourage each one of you to be a part of the Plus program to understand more about this. Multitasking was a wow thing in the past, but in the recent years, multitasking is not really encouraged. Multitasking is not really something that is required for you to do. You just do one thing at a time, and that is called as meditation. Focus on one thing when you're doing one thing, right? So that is about managing time. Before I wind up, I would want to read this out. Time is very, very precious. And if you want to know the essence of time, to realize the value of 1 year, ask a student who has failed a graduation. To realize the value of 1 month, ask a mother who's carrying because she wants to deliver every month and see the baby. To realize the value of 1 week, ask a newspaper editor because he gets paid towards the end of a week. To realize the value of 1 hour, ask the lovers who are waiting to meet, that every 1 hour seems so long. And to realize the value of 1 minute, ask a person who has missed a flight. Oh gosh, I wish I was early by a minute. And to realize the value of 1 second, ask a person who met with an accident. I wish I was late by that 1 second. So every second counts, every minute counts. So make the best use of it, people. Utilize time very, very effectively, because it's one life. You got to live it to the best. You really can't compromise. You really can't. I'm saying enjoy, have the pleasures of the world, but ensure that you have a schedule, you have an aim, you have a goal, and you start working towards it, because your life is unique. I'm sure each one of us would want to make the best out of our lives. In order to do that, hard work is must. Utilizing time to the fullest is must, right? So thank you so much. I hope you've liked what I've said. I hope some of the tips that I've given is something that you have liked, and if you've liked it, don't let it be in your mind. Start using it. Only when you use it, you will start becoming a better individual. Your personality start changing. If you've liked it, please like the channel. Share this video with all your friends. Follow us. Press the subscribe button and join the Plus program. And you would also get a 10% off or a discount on your subscription by using my referral code, which is Nitin PKR-4915. Right? So I'm gonna wait for the next 15 seconds if there's any questions. Dhananjay, I check with you if there's any questions. I think there are none from your side. Anybody else who has any questions, please shoot. I'm waiting for the next 15 seconds. All right, I guess there are no more questions from anyone, and thereby I'm going to sign out. Thank you so much. Thank you for listening. Thank you for viewing this. And my next session is going to be day after tomorrow. That is on how do you manage stress with your kind of schedules. I'm sure you would encounter a little bit of stress. How do you manage those stress is something that I would want to talk about. So till then, have a lovely evening, have a lovely rest of tomorrow, and see you day after tomorrow in our session on Unacademy. Have a lovely evening and a great night. Bye.